morning sun, how are you? Skies above, gee, it's great to be alive and love. Good morning sun. Good morning sun. Good morning life. Good morning sun, how are you? Skies above, gee, it's great to be alive and in love. Good morning sun.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Good morning. Let's try this again. This is take 2 of I Need Coffee, seriously. It is June 30th, and in this episode, I'd like to share more information that I learned yesterday based on yesterday's video. Share some more information about BC Docker artifacts. So let's get started. Oh, of course. Okay, let's try that again. So yesterday, after playing with the Docker artifacts in my video, I mentioned the question, well, how do you know which version of the artifact you use to create a container? If you do docker ps, use the docker ps command, you will see the container, but the image referenced will just be Dynamics, in this case, Dynamics Nav 10.0-generic. So how do I know which artifact was used for this? And so I asked Freddie this on Twitter, and of course he had an answer for this. It just didn't make it into his blog, but he has since added it. And he showed a screenshot of get nav container artifact URL and then the container name, like test. And when you issue that command, it will give you the URL, which just has the version number of the artifact. So you can tell, okay, this in his example was on-prem 16.2 W1. And so that worked on my new BC container that was created using artifacts. Now, on his blog, he mentions a different variant of that get BC container artifact URL. So I don't know if those are interchangeable or if the nav is for your on-prem version and BC is for your SaaS version, but both appeared to work fine for me. So that is the answer to how you would get your artifact version or artifact information for an existing container. Okay, so that was question number 1. So next up, he watched the video and he clarified that I had a misinterpretation of what artifacts were. As I mentioned, I couldn't find much information on Docker artifacts, and it turns out that it's not a Docker concept. It's apparently borrowed from the Azure DevOps CI/CD pipelines, and the way he described it is it's more like components or software installation elements that are installed from a DVD. So it's not a diff disk, it's more just like packages that need to be installed to the fresh container or fresh image. So you'll take your base image, or you'll take your, I guess it's your base image, and you will then use the artifact to install the additional components that you need in order to convert that image, generic image, into your purpose-built image. And that made a lot more sense. Like, okay, got it. And the implications of that, there are 2 implications. One is, as I highlighted in this tweet below, you take a generic image, you add your artifacts, and you can create a container out of that. So we'll take our generic base image, we'll take our BC artifacts, and that will allow us to create a BC container of a specific version, say 16.2. But as his blog mentioned, the downside to that is it takes some time because you get that generic image, you have to install the components from your artifact, and I I don't know if it's creating an image, a custom image on the fly behind the scenes, but it's having to do those installations in order to produce a container off of that artifact. So the approach that he mentions in his blog to save time is to do the generic image plus artifact in order to create a named image. Once you have that named image, that dramatically reduces the time needed to create a container because you have the full image ready to go. It is your 16.2 image, and from that 16.2 image, you can create a fresh container. Now, that does mean that you'll have images, your custom named images of whatever flavor of artifact you want, 16.1, 16.2, US, Europe, W1, whatever variants you want and permutations you want. But whenever you want a container based on that named image, it's much faster. So I now understand that was the point of his blog post where he recommends just checking out the performance difference between a generic image plus artifact and a named image, or creating that named image and then creating containers off of that. So I thought that was pretty cool. So hopefully that helps explain that. And wow, is that up? Okay, so that was it for this quick session. I'm going to jump on a call, but in the next session, what I'm going to do is talk about some of the Docker commands that I've collected over the last year or two in order to help me manage Business Central Docker containers. So enjoy. Have a good day.
Do, do, do.